Welcome, international students and educators, to a special year end episode. And this is the last episode of our season 2, Landing CPT, OPT, and H1B Jobs, a career guide for international students brought to you by IC Away. I'm your host, Kwanzi Eagle. As we look back on this roller coaster of the year, one thing stands out. When times get tough, having a strong support system is key to getting through it, right? And today, I'm super excited because I've got two awesome expat solopreneur friends here with me, Nanna and Meenakshi. Nanna, Meenakshi, thank you so much for joining me today. And to kick off, could you please introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners? Nanna, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here in your show, and it's the last show of the year. So my name is Nana Pat. You can call me Coach Nana. So I specialize in helping executives and teams thrive in uncertain times and rapid changing business landscape. So I help leaders with the strategies and new mindsets needed to navigate and excel in ambiguity. So happy to be here, and I'm excited to be sharing my thought and experience and ups and downs with you.
Awesome. Your work is so important, Nana. Thank you for being here. And now, Meenakshi would love to hear your story too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kwan. Thank you for having me here. And it's lovely to share space with you and Nanopat and sort of share our experience here as expat solopreneurs here in the US. My name is Meenakshi Iyer, and I come with a 25-year interdisciplinary career in technology adoption and people development in India and in the US. And over the last 4 years, I've been focused on serving as a personal agility, self-leadership, and change leadership coach. And I'm the founder and principal of North Star Solutions and Services, LLC, where we partner with executives and organizations in unpacking leadership at the messy middle. And we're going to get into that a little bit during our conversation. But the reason I chose to call it the messy middle and focus on that is, in my experience and research, the mid-level segment in most organizations are, while they bring the most value, they are not always as supported when it comes to their learning and development and professional development needs. And that's what I focus on. So I focus on partnering with mid-level leaders, women in technology, and folks like us who speak English as an additional language in their people and change leadership journeys. Lovely to be here, and thank you once again, Kwan, for sharing space with us, hosting us.
Of course, your work is so crucial as well. I'm so thrilled to have you two with me today. And before we dive into our conversation, I want to take this moment to share with our listeners why I'm so excited about having Nana and Meenakshi on this podcast today. Because in this journey of navigating the ups and downs of the year, these two incredible friends of mine have become more than just guest speakers today. They are my integral part of my own support system. And today's episode is not just about the interview, it's the conversation, it's a celebration of the strength that we comes together here from our genuine connections. So Nana and Meenakshi, thank you again for being my support system throughout the year. Let us dive into our conversation and explore the importance of having a support system in the world of solopreneur. We all three of us are expat, not just solopreneur, but we are expat as well, coming from a different countries and now in the US. Maybe before we kickstart the first question, can you share with us a little bit where you are calling in from? Meenakshi, where are you calling in from right now?
I'm based in Virginia on the East Coast of the
Ah,
US.
awesome, awesome. And where are you originally from?
I'm originally from India. I moved to the
Mm-hmm.
US 15 years ago now. Yeah, I moved here in 2008 as
Wow,
an accompanying spouse.
amazing. What about you, Nana?
So I'm based in Novi, Michigan. It's close to Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
and originally from Bangkok, Thailand. And I have been in the US since end of 2014. So it's almost 10 years. But yeah, still counting.
Same timeline with me. We're from the same country, same timeline, but one interesting fact is that we never met each other before. We got connected just a few years ago.
Mm.
I think just right before the pandemic hit, I believe at, around 2019, right, Nana? Yeah, just so surprising, how things happen, how life turns out. Okay, now I have, some interesting questions to ask you too. In a year filled with its fair share of hurdles like 2023, can you share a specific challenge you faced as an expat solopreneur and how your support system played a role in overcoming it? Nana, can you start with this?
Sure. Being a solopreneur itself is quite a lonely journey. And it seemed like, okay, well, I feel like I have it all, but then I don't. So it's more like when you move two step forward and three step backward all the time.
Mm,
So this is a journey that, if I can just feel like I'm ahead, but then again, I feel behind. That, the constant feeling like this, right? And then when I can't get ahead without the support system for sure, because the feeling that I have is not alien to any other entrepreneur or solopreneur. It's the same feeling that many of us share. And you can't avoid feeling lonely. You can't avoid feeling
mm.
like you're not there yet, because it's a journey. Also, you can't avoid comparing yourself to the other people who's already successful as well, right? So that's why support system has been so important, because when you share, it's like, oh, I have done that too. Oh, I feel like that too. Oh, this is something that I have done. Have you tried it yet? Right. So it's something that help, like, and then, become a community, become help with the feeling of, oh, you're not alone in your journey, even though you are doing your own business, building your own business and journey. You're not alone in this entrepreneurial journey, right? So the support system help with my mental strength and also help with the a few strategies as well. So that has been a great journey when I have the support. Without support, I don't think I can come this far.
Excellent. You're so right. It's not just about the strategy. It's not about just about how to. It's that mental strength too, which is even more important than the strategy because strategy can be changing all the time, but the strength from within is so important. And Mignashi would love to hear your thoughts on this question too.
Yes, I could relate to so much of what Nanapat shared just now. So all of that I've experienced as well, particularly this year. The one other thing I would add to it, and I think that comes from the dimension of us being expats here in the US, is not having those networks to start with, or having difficulty in getting into, in penetrating some of these networks where folks like us can find our ideal clients and do the impactful work that we know we have the capability and the capacity to do. So I think that's been a challenge that I have experienced, it particularly this year.
Awesome. You're so right. I think three of us, have similar kind of purpose, right? Our work is not just like transactional, I trade this one, you pay me this one. We more like want to create impact.
Yes.
And having the support system will help us figure out how we can continue doing what we want to do and creating impact and also make a living as an entrepreneur as well. All right. Now let us move on to the next one. We all know building a strong support system is so crucial. Can you please share a story about how a particular connection or mentorship has influenced your entrepreneurial journey? Some example would be great. Minashi, would you like to start?
Yeah, certainly. It was hard for me to just line up one example, because I think like how all three of us met and the energy that we gain from our conversations and our camaraderie, right? So there's several like that. When I had to sort of work hard to pick one, I think that this comes to my what comes to mind is my experience from actually last year, yeah, 2022. a dear friend, and I consider her a mentor as well, especially when it comes to my business. And she's also an expat, but she's been here in the US longer. And she opened the door for me for my first corporate client, because this was something that she was not able to serve the client at the time. The timelines didn't work out. They had been in talks for more than a year. And then she had attended my first talk at the Women in Agile launching new voices. So that I was a mentee in that program, and she had attended my talk. It was a 7-minute talk where I was mentored by other folks in the Women in Agile community, and that's how we had connected. And that was in 2020. So, so I also want to do a sidebar here. This goes to show how good things take time to happen, and you never know about the kind of impact you're leaving on someone. That's what I learned from that experience. So anyhow, so when she reached out to me, and she asked me if I was available and if I was interested in this program that she was no longer able to support, and that became my first corporate client, and it was a huge success. And I designed and developed and delivered my what has now become my flagship program, which is Unpacking Leadership. It's uh, immersive 12-week, 3-month long program aimed at mid-level leaders. And I was so fortunate and grateful for this experience, because this is my ideal client. It's a technology company, and the investment was made by the CTO's office, and that's the kind of work that I want to do. And so it was a phenomenal experience. So that's the one that comes to mind, and I'm so happy that I'm able to share that now with you.
That's great. That's great. All we need is just that one first person that gives us a chance, and you found that person that create the transformation in your life, and she will always be remembered. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I have something like that too. Minashi, thank you for sharing. Nana, would love to hear your story too.
Uh, like Meenakshi was saying, is hard to pick one. Um, I'm blessed to be able to work with so many great teachers and mentors,
Mhm.
right? Paid and not paid, right? So, but I think if I have to choose one, I will choose the one that probably shape the way that I could get out of the minority mindset myth. It is a paid mentorship or having a community of like-minded people. So sometimes you need to pay for it as well to be in those
Right.
kind of community. And this, so I can name him. His name is Ajit Agarwal. He's a founder of Ever Coach. At about 2016, that's when I didn't know if I could set up a coaching business. So if I didn't know if I have the capability as a coach, who am I to, from Asia to be a business coach and leadership coach over here in the US, right? And then at that time, I was here in the US about 2 years already. So the transition when I
Mm,
came into the US, there's a lot of mindset that trying to impose in me from the culture, from whatever other people were thinking. Well, obviously, when we came here, we didn't know that minority myth exists, right? Because we were the majority where we came from,
right.
and then came here. It's just like, oh, you're different, you're Asian, and you're coming from having international mindset. Um, Over here, it was a culture shock, and then it reduced my confidence, and it affect a lot of my confidence and how I can turn things around, even though I had such a great background to coach international leaders. Like you're talking about CEO of a company in a country leaders, but then when I came here, I became like a tiny person. So this person they got into the program and he was a great example. He's from India. He didn't have a lot to come with him, and he didn't have the credential, and then he turned things around and now is a founder of one of very successful coaching company. So I looked into that and he said, is not about the color, the look, and things like that. Is about the value that you bring. So because of that mentorship, I work with him um, with like so many like programs and also one-on-one as well. So because of that, then I can turn the situation around, not going back.
Excellent example, Nana. And we all have that imposter syndrome, right? And coming here, starting your life over, our life over, we always have like questions in our head. And I'm glad that you shared this example of the paid mentorship, because sometimes people need to invest in themselves. And yeah, there are people that willing to jump on a call, speak with you, but those are just one-time conversation. It doesn't have a system. It doesn't have a solid proven methodology. So sometimes you just need to start investing in yourself. Awesome. Thank you for sharing with me. Now we have some other, interesting questions waiting. Let us move on to the next one. I would like us to reflect on the past year. What's one key lesson you have learned about resilience, adaptability as an expat solopreneur, and how has that lesson impacted your approach to your business? Who would like to start first? Meenakshi, would you like to share? I know that you have done some incredible work, with your business this year.
Thank you, thank you. Before I respond to that, I also wanted to uh, say something. When Nana shared about her experience and getting into a paid mentorship program and the impact that it had, I was reminded of how you had been accepted into, that was Female Foundry. That was 2020. That was not a paid program, but it was a structured mentorship program. And because you sent that my way, I applied and I got in, and we were in the same cohort. And that was, I think, a few months after we had first met.
Right.
And we have yet, all three of us, I have yet to meet the two of you in person, and that's the beauty of everything that we're doing today. So I was reminded of that, and I was feeling very grateful because I am still in touch with that mentor.
Mm.
And we try to meet at least, we up until last year we would meet every month, and then this year it's been more like once a quarter. But we definitely make sure that we meet before the year ends, and so I do like a business review with him, and that has had such a big impact on the way I look at my business. And one of my big takeaways from that mentorship program in 2020, because it was right before my practice had turned that 1 year old, so I just started in 2019. And the big takeaway for me was I finally started looking at myself as a woman in technology, because until then I felt like I'd always had tech adjacent roles. Although I'm a trained programmer, I've never really done that for, as a job. And I also started looking at myself as a business owner, and the clarity around messaging. So those were my big takeaways from that mentorship program. So as Nara was sharing hers, that came to mind, and I wanted to plug that in. And it also ties back to the question that you asked about resilience. I think this past year I've had my fair share of disappointments in terms of you know anticipated business not coming through, people that I thought we had a good connection not responding to my proposals. And I've had quite a few of those, and those are the times when I question everything.
Mhm.
And I keep wondering how long I can sustain what I do. How can I sustain my business? Because I'm totally self-funded, as I know the two of you are as well. And but I also, those are the times when I remind myself of two things. One is, why did I start North Star Solutions and Services? The purpose of it. And the same mentor who, her name is Anjali, by the way, Anjali Leon. Anjali and I, we talk often, and one of the things she had said was that as solopreneurs, what we're really doing is redesigning our lives. We are choosing a different way of life. And that really stayed with me because I think that outside of the impact that I want to create and the purpose that I have through Nostra Solutions and Services, which is to really invest in mid level leadership development for mid level leaders, I also I'm very aware that I'm doing this because I'm done with keeping work as the center of my life and designing my life around it, and I'm ready to flip it where work is one of the things that I do. It is a very important part of my life, but it is an important part of my life. It is not my whole life. So now I've chosen to design my life, and then my business is a part of it. So reminding myself of that why, like there is an external facing why, which is the impact that I want to create, and the way I want to make a living or earn a living, and the internal facing why is how I want to design my life. So really, going back to that. And I actually have a diary where I had written this when I first started, even before I registered my business. So when I'm down, I go back to that and I actually look at the words that I had written down, and
Mm.
it's a source of strength. The second thing that has helped me sort of stay the course and be resilient is to celebrate the things that have gone well, and also reminding myself that success criteria, we often tend to use money or status as success criteria because that's what we've been programmed to believe. And if I really step away from that, then the impact that I'm able to create, the people that I'm able to reach, even if it's not paid work, like financially it's not paid, but I know that I'm making a difference and I know that I'm paying it forward because I'm sitting on a mountain load of privilege at this point to be able to even do this, right? Because I always say this: if I was single or if I was the main earner in the family, I would still be in that job that I was in 4 years ago. So I know that there's a lot of support that I have even within my family unit that enables me to do the work that I do. So really, the way that what has helped me stay the course and remain resilient is reminding myself of the why, and also taking the time to acknowledge and celebrate the journey and the milestones within the journey.
Love that. Nana, what do you think? Any thoughts on this?
Love your story. So look at your why is always a very good strategy for you to review when you at the down moment, right? So when you're questioning yourself, for sure. So, well, resilience. We all have very high resilience as solopreneur, for sure, because things are not going as planned typically, right? When you plan, it typically don't go as planned, and life happens sometimes, right? That pull us away from the plan. But the ability to pivot and reinvent
Mm,
Mm.
again and again, um, that's resilience, right? So I think one thing that helped me and also help with my clients when we are looking at imposter syndrome, when we're looking at I'm not I'm not good, right? So, I don't have what it takes. I can't do it. So always look at how far you have come
mm,
Mhm.
because it's a journey and you have traveled very far already. If you look back, look at the timeline that you already accomplished, right? So you have come very far. But to go further, then it means that you have the ability to go further. Something that you already faced today, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen before. It did,
mm,
Mhm.
but in
Mhm.
different shape or form, capacity, right? So you have the ability to encounter those already. So if you look back, then you can have that strength to move forward because you have done well. Like for me, when I look back, very down this year, so I wanted to change the business model and things like that. So it's not going as planned. As you talk about, things happen. So looking at, okay, well, in a coaching journey, what happened? Well, I was awarded one of the top leadership coach in the Americas. So that was great. It was 2022. I was in Hydric Struggle, executive coaches, supporting these big, great companies and have been doing a lot of things to make a lot of impact. A lot of my clients got promoted. So when you look at that, then okay, well, I probably did something, right? Say, okay, maybe I'm good. So when you look that far, well, we probably in our 40s, right? So when you look back like that, it is a great journey. So why regret? Just keep moving forward.
You both gave me goosebumps. It's just amazing. So true. And I'm sure that our listeners today, can really feel relevant with our experiences. I think this is a great way for us to, discuss the next topic about challenges. Because whenever there are challenges, there are often silver linings as well.
Mm.
I would like you to highlight a positive experience or unexpected opportunity that emerged for you in 2023 and how it contributed to your growth. Minashi, would you like to start?
Well, there's a couple of things. One is, so in end of 2022, when I was planning for 2023, I set some intentions, and I called them my big rocks. We all know that story where if you have a glass jar and you fill that with, you have stones and small pebbles, and you have sand and shells and all that. If you fill it up with sand first, you may not have space to put your big rocks, right? So you start with your big
Mm.
rocks and figure out those are your most important ones. Those are your non-negotiables. So using that analogy, my four big rock intentions for 2023 were to grow my one-on-one coaching business, to grow my corporate coaching or group coaching side of the business, to start building my speaking career, and lastly, to number four was to find opportunities in India. And I'm so interested in not only just giving back, but also staying connected with what's happening in the professional community there, especially from a point of view of women in tech and all of that. So those are my four big rock intentions for 2023. And I think that I've made progress in each of them. But again, like Nana was saying, it didn't work out as planned, like what my vision was for success. But now when I look back, I have a potential opportunity to do some collaborative work with an organization that is invested in women, in developing women in leadership roles, starting 2024. Fingers crossed, everything goes well. But then I had the opportunity to actually serve as a group, do some group coaching work with that organization. And then I was able to. I had my first in-person speaking opportunity in India at an Agile conference. That was in April of this year in 2023. And that again came about because of some volunteer work that I had done back in 2020. And it was all remotely that I'd done, and I met this wonderful person, Sri Harsha, and he's the co-founder. He's based in the UK, but then he's a co-founder of this group that organizes this conference in India. And so that was my connection, right? So those are so what I learned in this process is setting intentions is so powerful because they're more liberating than goals, because you're allowing it to shape up however you're open to seeing how it emerges. So those are my like sort of two big outcomes that I was able to see. And I'm very proud of this opportunity for doing group coaching work with this organization in India, because I did all the work, meaning I pitched something to them. That idea was shot down, but then they came back with something, hey, but this is what we would like you to do. So it is very different from what I had pitched to them, you know.
Mhm.
But the point is, I got the opportunity to become a part of their ecosystem and be in service of women in tech and women in leadership roles, which is something that's so aligned to what I want to do through North Star, right? So the thing that I'm learning is that success, especially as solopreneurs, see, we have to grow our revenue because we are usually one person teams. So in order for us to sustain the business, the financial aspect of the business is such a big part of it. And that's true for a lot of your listeners and your community, Kwan, as well, because when you come here as an international student, you have all these responsibilities, right? So being open to how they translate, and also being open to looking at not just the finances, but looking at, what's the experience, how you're learning and growing as an individual. So yeah, so that was my more than 2 cents on that.
So great. So great. You're a great example of keep moving, right?
Yes.
Things might not work out as we planned, but you continue planting the seeds for success.
Yes.
And you did that in 2022. The result, the outcomes, the fruit of your efforts come up in 2023. And 2024 will be an exciting year for you, and wishing you lots of success with your new projects,
Thank
Meenakshi.
you. Thank you so much, Kwan.
Of course. And Nana would love to hear your story on the silver linings as well.
Hmm. So for me, this year is quite stable in terms of the coaching. So I have been doing a lot of coaching, like one-on-one this year, and then I realized that I have the impact, right? But I'm getting older, so I probably can't handle too much one-on-one much more. And it again, great experience in terms of connecting
Mm,
and helping leaders
Mhm.
navigate through uncertainty because there are a lot of them this year,
mm,
especially it has been anyway, right? So it has been nonstop and it will only be faster. The change will only be faster now that we have a lot of technology coming in. So I think this year for me, when it comes to reflection, now we in December, I think it's better for me already not to start expanding and shifting and changing, but more observing and
Mm.
hold the space for me to choosing a way on
mm,
where I should go next year and start to reinvent a few things that gonna be able to support my leaders, support the clients to do better because they will face with a lot of challenges next
mm,
year for sure. And
Mm.
as we
Right.
already know, the economy is already like banks and stuff like that lay off daily and stuff like that. So and many of them affected and the business are affected as well. So I think like for me to be able to stay still and be that still water, help my clients to go through this speed of change. So
mm.
how do I help them reinvent? How do I help them change next year? I think that that'll be something that I also need to reflect. So that's a positive
Yes.
outlook, at least for the whole year.
That is great. Nana, you know your niche, right? And you know
Mm.
what works for you. With the economy that we are experiencing, and surprisingly, like this year, what I have heard is that majority of the roles that got laid off, they are executive level, which is
Yes.
very different from previous years, right? And when you are now going to be the rock for your clients, so important.
I have to say, if I'm not still this year, I probably won't have the container to be able to
Mm,
support them to go through the
mm,
uncertainty.
Great, great. Thank you so much for sharing. We have the last questions of our conversation today. I definitely don't want this, interview to end for sure. I really enjoyed so much. Um, for international students and fellow expat solopreneurs listening in, what advice do you have for those trying to establish their support systems and overcome the unique challenges of pursuing a career or business abroad? Nana, would you like to start?
Sure, as you already paved a way from the beginning, the support system is very important because we need a village, right,
Mhm.
to help us to be successful. And that village is something that you need to find on your own. The support system that's going to be able to help you, the mentors that are going to help guide you the way, the coach that's going to be helping you and holding your hands to whatever the next step that you plan and have the vision for. So for I learned the hard way, right? Coming here and have no network and nothing and stumble on different network. And speaking from experience, like the faster you can find yourself with the supporting network that you feel safe, that you
Mhm.
feel like this is gonna be these people that can
Mm.
help me grow, not help me in pulling me down, right? Because you have different network, different supporting system, but we're talking about the real support to help you grow. So find those support group as soon as possible, because that will help you sustain your sanity and your mindset. But if you don't have it, it's hard. So I think that would be something that I would love to live with if there's nothing else, right? Because it's very
Mhm.
important. I can't be where I am without mentors, teachers, support for sure. You know, with the two of you as well has been a great support. I can't be where I am today, and honestly, like it takes a village.
Take a village. Great. Meenakshi?
Yeah. The one thing I'd like to add to what Nana just shared is I can't, there's a quote around this and I can't remember it now, but the meaning is hold yourself, hold your values very strongly, but hold yourself rather lightly. And what I mean by that is, if be aware of what the universe is telling you, what the environment is telling you, and be courageous to pivot and turn as needed. And I say that particularly in the context of international students, because a lot of you are coming here. Um, this is aspirational to study in the US in a university here. And several of you are probably coming with a lot of pressure from your families, from your parents, your partners, whatever the your life situation may be. And it's also a huge financial investment for you to do what you're doing, for most of you at least. And that's true for those of us that, like me, who come here as accompanying spouses. And it's, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but more often than not, it's the female spouse that ends up coming as the accompanying spouse. At least that's what I've seen in my circles. So there's a lot of pressure and everything that we do. I remember the first few years, um, I would hesitate to spend even $1 because I was like, I'm not bringing in money, I'm not earning money. And so I considered myself an expense. So I would not spend any money. But the point also, so always value who you are, and stay in touch with why you're doing what you're doing. And at the same time, hold your vision and goals a little bit lightly so that you are able to turn when needed, make that big pivot when needed. A lot of times we continue to do what we started doing because we are embarrassed to admit to others that we are no longer interested in it, or this is not what speaks to us, or whatever. We may realize that we're not doing a great job, and we are really like kind of not
Mhm.
bringing our whole self to it, but then we kind of continue doing because we feel pressured from the environment. And you're probably not living your fullest by doing that. And those of us um, that choose to come to the US for whatever reason, we all come with a lot of privilege anyway. So really leaning into how can you use your privilege in the service of others without you know falling into the pressure of societal expectations and expectations of your family. I think that's the key to thriving in an environment, in a foreign environment.
Mhm. You are so right. Being here as a foreigner, actually the situation is quite different, right? From people who were born and raised here. We have expectations from the family back home. We
Yes.
also even set expectation for ourselves. Sometimes it's heavier than what is supposed to be. So it is important to be able to, be flexible and have the goal that it's good to have a goal, but at the same time, knowing that it is okay to pivot as well.
Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I do want to share a personal example here that for the last year and a half, I've been, and I've shared this with you in our personal conversations, is that I've been considering looking at full time roles or even part time roles, but having one leg in industry because of the kind of work that I do. I've come to a point after about 4 years. I've done some contract work here and there, but it's not the same as being part of a corporate ecosystem. As much as there are parts of it that I don't want to experience again, but I also think that if I need to be relevant and in service of my clients who all come from that space, I need to stay relevant. And so I've been looking at roles, and I'm open to finding a role because I also, now that I'm outside of that ecosystem, I realize that I've gained new skills
Mhm.
and I can make better impact in a closed ecosystem if I'm part of it for a considerable continuous amount of time. Because as a coach consultant, you're parachuted in and then booted out. Right, so you can't
Mhm.
really stay on to see that longitudinal impact, if you will. So the reason I'm saying this is I am not ashamed to say that, hey, I'm a solopreneur, but I will be open to a full-time role or a part-time role if the right one shows up, and I'm actively seeking those as well. But I'm clear on my why. So I'm not giving up North Star and doing something, right? So I think that honesty with oneself is so important, because a lot of times we forget to do that because we want to be everything to everyone else.
Right. So good. So good. And you know what? As a solopreneur, if you can, make things happen,
Yes.
all employers are so going to be so lucky to have you,
Right.
right?
Let me piggyback right on that. I think it
Mm-hmm.
is important to understand that is a value that you bring into the table in
Mm,
different
Mm-hmm.
capacity.
right.
So to what Meenakshi was saying is that don't stick with just the shape and form, being a
Mm-hmm.
solopreneur, but stick with the purpose and the impact that we're going to be providing. It might be next year, all of us will be working in a large corporation, making much more impact, or philanthropy, or having served a local business. We don't know,
Yeah.
but those are the capacity that we can tap into. But as long as we don't stick with the form, but we know
Yes.
what we're doing to
Mm-hmm.
be able to make an impact, that's the most important thing.
How beautifully said, Nana.
Right?
Thank you.
Nana, such a great conclusion. Thank you so much. And for me, navigating the challenges of this year would have been far more daunting without your wisdom, you two, your encouragement, and your shared experiences that so generous, to me. So thank you for all those words of wisdom. It's been a pleasure having both of you on the show. And our listeners, if you enjoyed this podcast, I would appreciate it if you can leave a review or rate our show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you next time, next year. Think big and live your dream.